my colleague in the ministry, Shri Rajwardhan Singh Rathore, the Secretary Shri Julka, other senior officials and friends. Many traditions change, but some traditions are conventional but good. And I think this 59th year running, the publication of India book by the publication division is a great tradition. It's a great tradition because it gives you authentic information. It gives you updating year by year. For anyone who wants to know details about this great country, there couldn't be a better document than this. In the last few decades, the world has changed. And therefore, attitudes have also changed. There's a change in time availability. There's a change in preferences. Particularly for our younger generation students, I remember that when I studied, particularly in school, besides academics and your outdoor sports, there was no television. There was no internet. Television had just started coming about black and white, 2 hours in the evening. It wasn't particularly exciting, so in order to enrich yourself, books were a great medium. And if you went to an average household those days, which may have about 10 to 20 books in all, other than the children's academic books, a general knowledge book used to be a must-read on every shelf. And therefore, since there were very few of them which could be afforded in your long vacations, in the evenings if you were free, on weekends, you had no option but to keep on reading and rereading those books. As a result, some of the data used to be memorized. Some people were interested in general affairs, some people were interested in sports. Even the nature of the magazines were very information-centric. So they could give you a lot of information. I particularly remember that when I used to read those general knowledge books, we were all out of a sense of India attachment, looking whether there's any reference to anything very exciting in India in those books. And the only reference used to be that the largest rainfall used to be in one of the districts of Assam. That was the only reference to India which used to come. And that district has now become a dry district, I'm told. But of course, since things have changed, so there are a large many. And as the Secretary mentioned, these books were particularly of use to those who were writing the competitive examinations. And they had to have a mandatory paper. So if you go back to that generation, the details of these books were generally known to most people who were growing up. But now, of course, there is a race for crossing 95% marks, because otherwise you don't get admitted to a proper college. So the time availability for these activities is much less, so too for outdoor sports. But of course, then there are different mediums in the explosion. Television is a medium, internet is a medium. And therefore, the kind of details people now know about all the modern developments happening globally may be much larger. But then there are several details which are becoming, going out of the memory. I don't know how many school and college going students would be going back to some of these books. Of course, my best reading phase of my life was during the emergency when I was in prison. So we used to get books from outside. There was a very well-equipped jail library. So every book in relation to the freedom struggle, to the Second World War, to what happened in the Third Reich, etc., there was a time when you could read it. I, in fact, went and read the Constituent Assembly debates from page to page during that period, all the volumes, because that was the best way you could pass your time. Today, of course, the emphasis on these books is no longer there. So if I asked somebody now to start reading those debates, he may not find them so exciting. But the mediums have changed. And I've been suggesting to the department, to the publications division the other day, for instance, if some of us saw on the Rajya Sabha television the 10 serial episode on the making of India's constitution. I think it's one of the most outstanding serials which has been made. Came very close to reality, so nobody has to read those volumes now. You can actually buy those it's a set which is available, and my suggestion has been to the Secretariat in the Rajya Sabha, as also the other day to the Publications Division, that we must now strengthen our digital medium much more, so that the people don't need to go and get these books also. They can see them on the digital medium itself. The collected works of Gandhiji is one of the great publications of the publication department, and there is no reason why it should not be available to everyone on the digital medium itself. I had suggested in the Defence Ministry, and I am told they are also moving fast, on India's war history. We are one of the few countries which don't have a formal documentation of our war history. Last year, I was invited to a function to speak on the 100th anniversary of the First World War. It was in 1914, so 2014 was the 100th anniversary. So I started looking up the details, and I realized for the first time myself that the largest participation in the First World War was by Indians. We had 12 lakh Indians in the First World War who fought the battle. More than 70,000 lost their lives. A fact which may not be known to most people, at least it was not. I knew of a large participation, but these details only when I started reading them. And it's then that it struck me that we must have a formal war history which every growing up child in India should at least once or twice in life have an opportunity to see. Now that these mediums are available, and these are very low-cost mediums, they don't cost much. And there is no reason why some of these mediums should not be utilized, and what material we already have should be available to the world at large. Because stocking books is going to be extremely difficult. I originally represent a discipline of law where we were supposed to have too many books. And now the new generation of lawyers doesn't need those books because everything's available on the net. So we don't know what to do with our libraries, some of which look very good but have become obsolete. And therefore this new medium, the publications department, and I'm glad the secretary just mentioned that from next year onwards, in the course of this year, that this publication will also be available on the net, so that anybody who wants to check up all the details will have an easy access to these details. I'm sure this book will be a very good addition to all our libraries. and particularly when the details of this are available in the digital mode from this year onwards. It will be available free of cost to the world at large to enrich itself. Well, thank you very much, and my congratulations to the publication department for keeping up this great tradition and initiative. Thank you.